What's up, everybody? Welcome to Move the Six. DJ Buck with you. Buck, what is going on, man?
None, DJ, man. I guess it's a very exciting time in football because we're in the thick of the college football season. We've got the NFL coming to the midpoint. Trade deadline is about to pop. So there's a lot of stuff going on. So I feel like we're beginning to see the best ball that we're going to see now that people are kind of settling in and kind of get into their routines, particularly at the NFL level.
Yeah, no, it's kind of everything's settling down. I told you I've got my my video coming here to jump on the college guys because there's enough out there that you can get some homework done. I'm gonna start on those offensive linemen, start working through those guys, and then we're off and running, man.
I'm fascinated by this class. I'm fascinated by how the conversation started about the quarterbacks and how it's going to finish. And I think it's always fun when we get to March and April and we have the path to the draft and we're running up and we're talking about these guys. It will be interesting to look at the notebooks from the summer and the notebooks from the spring, because I believe there's going to be a completely different set of names that we talked about that we didn't talk about earlier.
Can I hit that real quick? Because that's a great point. And I wanted to give you my thoughts on it and see if we're on the same page. In years past, if you had the year, like you were coming into the year, say you were a junior and you were expected to be a first round pick, or there was a lot of buzz and a lot of hype on you, and it didn't go your way, well, the agents would still get you with, hey, look, there's a chance you go back and you end up with the same performance. Your stock gets even lower. Like right now, maybe you're a third round pick, fourth round pick, but you'll start the clock. You're going to get paid. And then it gets you closer to your second contract. You know, that's to me was the sales pitch. Well, now, man, there's tons of money in college. We've seen over the last, 5 years, the guys who've come in and had success are guys who played a ton of ball. So it's only going to help you to get all those reps with to be honest with you, less stressful reps than at the NFL level, where as soon as you get on the field, it feels like the clock's ticking on your judgment. So I'm hoping, and we'll see once we get to the spring, and hopefully these guys finish up strong. But there's a lot of these guys that do have some eligibility left. I hope they take advantage of it.
I think they should. I think they should max out their opportunities, particularly at the collegiate level, when it's been proven. The more you play at the college level, the more likely you play better at the NFL level. And we have a bunch of examples that illustrate that right now with the young quarterbacks. I think it's going to be interesting when we talk about the quarterbacks, like when you look at a Carson Beck situation where he has been around for a long time and now he's playing in Miami after being at Georgia, and the time on task and how that may benefit him when people start looking at him and those things. I just think there's so many benefits for that position in particular, where they are getting paid top of the market money in college, to stay there unless you really have to make that jump. To me, I think it's beneficial because I'm getting paid. Well, I'm getting paid and I can get the reps. And it's been proven that if I get more reps in college, I'm performing better in the NFL and potentially avoid a bad situation at the top of the charts. Why wouldn't you explore that if you have that available to you?
Yeah, I think it makes a lot of sense. So we'll see how these guys finish up and what they decide they want to do when we get to that point. Buck, I did a little project, 2 little projects, and I wanted to get you on. The first one was, we've talked about Travis Hunter, a good bit on here, but I hadn't taken the time to really jump in on him. And ahead of your game this weekend, I went through and watched all of his targets and was trying to see, what can they do? Like, how can they unlock him a little bit more? So I'll give you a couple of my findings on that. And then I love, as someone who's around it day in and day out and every single week, I love to hear what your formula would be for how you'd want to approach it going forward. But so let's just look at the numbers right now. He's got 21 catches for 198 yards going through PFF on 35 targets. One of the unusual nuggets I looked at, and I don't know on some of these, sometimes on PFF, there could be penalties and things could be called back. But based off just watching all the targets, I had 4 picks. I had Trevor Lawrence with 4 interceptions on balls intended for Travis Hunter. So, I mean, there's been some force feeding there at times when it hasn't necessarily been there, and it's got him in a little bit of trouble. That was one of the things that stood out. Ton of quick hitters, ton of quick screens, hitches, flats, a little bit of option routes, some shallows, a couple overs. But the one, the seam ball was, he made a big time play down the seam on one. And then another on a deep over, I think it was a Kansas City game where he had a big play. But You know what I did not see on there, which I was a little surprised? I think he's one of the best like 50-50 go ball guys that we've seen over the last few years. You saw that at Colorado a lot, like outside, Shedeur just giving him a chance. I think to the North Dakota State game in particular, him just mossing a guy down the field. And I went going through all the targets, but I didn't see any. I didn't see any outside vertical shots with him at all.
No, so it's kind of funny because I believe there are a lot of things that are working at one time. Liam Cohen, first-time head coach, play caller with Trevor Lawrence, trying to do all of this. And to me, when I look at this offense, it reminds me of the 2018 version of the Rams, where you're trying to repair Jared Goff. You're trying to put it together. But the one thing that the Rams had is they had Todd Gurley that they could lean on early until they could solve all the issues with the passing game. Now what you're trying to do is get Trevor Lawrence up and going comfortable, trying to figure out, okay, Brian Thomas Jr., he's my number one. Is Travis Hunter the two, the pecking order, and those things. But it's also looking at what do each of these players do really well. It's one thing to establish the pecking order. It's another thing to now put a plan that features routes that play to the skill set of each player. Early on, there was a conversation in the building that maybe Travis Hunter is more like a Justin Jefferson type in this offense. And they had done the numbers. If you look at Justin Jefferson's numbers last year, he had like 18% of his routes were in-breaking routes. Travis Hunter, to me, because in my estimation, he's the best ball catcher on the team. He catches the ball in traffic without flinching, no issue or whatever. To me, you've seen all those quick hitters, those 5-yard ends. I think they need to expand it where he becomes the dig runner. He becomes the deep over runner. He does the dirty work in the middle. And I know people talk about his size, but DJ, you see it in the tape. There are two things that he does really well. He catches the ball, and when he gets the ball in his hands, it is rare that the first guy tackles him. He has unbelievable stop-start quickness and just awareness and feel, and he hasn't taken a shot. To me, I think not that you reset the pecking order and make him the number one receiver, but I do believe there's a world in which the Jaguars can live where there's a 1A, 1B situation with him and Brian Thomas Jr.
Yeah, you bring up a good point. He does do a good job on that stuff. He just hadn't been given opportunities really to do much of it. That's why, to me, that seam ball was impressive. But I just feel like, man, let's try and get him some one-on-ones and let's let him go play above the rim. The guy's got unbelievable leaping ability and ball skills down the field. He
does it all the time. The catch versus Kansas City, or when he reaches over the guy and pulls it, like that's like
that's why I'm looking for more of that.
Like find more. And really is, I think, Trevor getting comfortable with knowing that if he's covered, he's open.
Yeah. Like I said, there's been 4 picks, but those 4 picks were kind of like underthrown. And like some of it is, I don't think you talked about Justin Jefferson. Like, I don't think he's, he doesn't have the polish as a wideout to be like, you see him running comebacks. The corner's got outside leverage and he's trying to lean him inside. Well, you got to get to him before you do that. And so he just kind of opens the door for him to make, you got to get up on his toes and all that. So I don't think there's that type of polish. I'm looking for athlete throws, like just be an athlete, go get it. The other thing is what I was kind of surprised I thought we would see is like, there's no like orbit motion with him. I don't know what, I always call it those little escort screens where you can get kind of the tight end out and then get him out there with the lead blocker. A lot of it is just quicks. He's just one-on-one, just got to make that guy miss and do something with it. I'm like, man, I think you could give him a little blocker out there too and let him do it that way.
I think there's so much meat on the bone. And, it's funny, right? Because you have these weapons and toys that you're trying to figure out to play. I feel like it's Christmas Day and you try to figure out, okay, I got the quarterback who, he might be more athletic than I thought. He can run a little bit. Where is he at when it comes to pushing the ball down the field after we give him so much at the line of scrimmage? Brian Thomas Jr., he's supernatural and gifted. What works for him? Maybe this doesn't work, so maybe we need to put him in this lane. Parker Washington is intriguing. You got Travis Hunter going both sides. There's a lot. I've always believed, and I've actually been surprised at the way that they've come out the gate. I feel like their best ball would be after the bye week, after they reset, recalibrate, take all the information in. Like, okay, here's where we are from an efficiency standpoint. These are the things that we need to do to maximize the talents that we have. And you make that presentation in front of the team. Hey, guys, here's what we thought we were going to be, but here's what we ought to be based on what the numbers say and what the production has been.
Yeah, no doubt. I'm curious to see how this kind of grows and evolves as we go forward here. I gave you a little homework assignment, Buck. I'll give you mine first, and then we'll get to yours. But I was looking at the AFC, and I got to do this for a little TV thing. But they're like, how would you stack the top 5 teams in the AFC right now? And we talked about it the other day with the topsy-turvy nature of it, with Burrow's injury, Lamar Jackson's injury. Buffalo's now lost 2 games in a row. They're skidding a little bit. I think what the expectation was, Kansas City's now clicking, but that wasn't a great start to the season for them. So it's a little upside down right now. So I looked at it and said, okay, I'm gonna go resumes and who I think the 5 best teams are right now. So I'm not saying this projects to what it's going to look like at the end of the year, but just kind of as we take this 6-week snapshot, this is how I came down with it. I had Indy. I just think Indy, with the record they have, they're 5-1. They've got a win over Denver, which is a great win. So I put them at 5-1. I'll get called a homer on this one, but I put the Chargers at 2, just because of the quality win. They beat Denver and Kansas City. Those are 2 playoff wins. They're 4-2, and their whole team's been decimated. I mean, they just won a game last week with their 5th and 6th tackles, with their 3rd running back. No Khalil Mack, no Denzel Perriman. I mean, they're a 4-2 team that's going to get a lot of these guys coming back. But I just think the quality of wins that they've had, they've swept the division, 3 division wins in the AFC West to start the season. So that's why I had them at 2, 1 spot ahead of Pittsburgh. I just thought Pittsburgh only has 1 loss, but I thought the Chargers had more impressive wins than Pittsburgh did. I put KC at 4, and man, they're charging fast, and they're getting right offensively, and you're going to add a big time receiver into the mix there as well. And then the 5th spot, I came down to Denver and Buffalo, and I ended up going Denver. I maybe that's some recency bias because Buffalo's dropped a couple games, but I just think that Denver defense, if you're going to look at the 4 units between Denver and Buffalo, I think Denver's defense is the best of the 4 in terms of the 2 offenses, the 2 defenses.
No, man, it's not a bad list. I think what's interesting when you talk about having to make the hard conversation between Denver and Buffalo, I was on a podcast in Buffalo, and I made the point they may be the best team with the least talented roster. If I can make this, it's like they when you look at their blue chip stars,
they squeeze the most out of the orange.
I mean, you talk about Josh Allen, maybe talk about Deion Dawkins being James a blue chip player, James Cook, but DJ, compared to what we've talked about, and we've talked about 8 to 12 are required to be a championship team. They don't have that. They play great together, but they don't have on paper what you traditionally need to have to be a championship team. Now, when I look at it in the AFC, it's so funny that you have the Indianapolis Colts up there because very similar. I would have Indy, Pittsburgh. I would have the Chargers. I don't have the Chiefs in the top 5. I would have the Broncos after that. And then I'm kind of stuck with the, it's the feel-good story of the Patriots and then the Buffalo Bills. And here's the thing why I would lean towards the Patriots. Coaching and quarterback. And I'm not saying that Drake May is a superior quarterback to Josh Allen. But man, that Mike Vrabel, you're talking about squeezing it out of whatever the Patriots have. Drake May and Josh McDaniels are on another level right now in terms of what they're doing and how they're getting it done. And I expected it to happen, but not this year. I expected them to reemerge as a winning franchise and be all those things that they've been. I did not expect to see it this soon. Stephon Diggs helps, but, and I'll say this, and sometimes love and eyes can be the harshest eyes. Because I saw Drake May from the time he was in high school at Myers Park all the way through, sometimes your expectations are there because you're too close to it. And so maybe you're hard on him during the draft process and all that. He plays for your alma mater and all that other stuff. But DJ, when you step back and you look at him and you talk about what we're going to say is like a very good quarterback class that came out a couple years ago.
He's playing the best right now.
I mean, he is absolutely Dylan Bo Nix. I mean, he is unbelievable. And he has what I always love in the quarterback. He has a quiet swagger to him that is not overwhelming. You know what I mean? It's not a look at me or whatever, but he has some of that. I got this, coach. And I think anyone who's been around the game, you always like your quarterback that in that moment, he's running back onto the field and the coach is like, hey, don't forget. He's like, I got us.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think you tell me, but they're going on the road and winning at Buffalo. I think is one of, if not the best wins in the entire season so far for any team.
Great win. And you know what we always know when it comes to Mike Vrabel, one, he's one of the best strategists, tacticians, however you want to call it, in terms of game day strategy, getting the team to do whatever they need to do to win the game. He's terrific at that. He understands the ins and outs of the rules and how to like bleed it out if they need to bleed it out. If he feels like they're the underdog, they take care of business if they're the favorite. But man, I would say like the confidence that his team is beginning to play with, they're dangerous. Like they're dangerous because they don't even know what they don't know yet. And when they start to get the young guys up and going with these other, like they're a really good team.
Yeah, no doubt. It's fun to watch all those young guys out there performing and doing a nice job. That's why it's a little bit of a tricky exercise there in the AFC. I think and look, we get the Chargers and the Colts squaring off this week, so that'll help determine how I see the top of the conference settling in right now. So that'll be a fun one. Looking forward to that. All right, Buck, a quick one today. We want to get one in before we're on the road here. You got to get overseas. I've got to get up to LA. We've got all kinds of stuff going on. So we wanted to make sure we kept the pod train rolling here. So we appreciate you guys hanging with us. We've got a fun one tomorrow. We've got our conversation with our buddy Maurice Jones-Drew, where we'll talk about all things running backs and maybe see if we can't have some connective tissue with all these great backs, and the rushing numbers across the league are up. So we'll get his take on that.
Look, man, it should be a lot of fun to have him on. He is always a blast. Looking forward to the combo.
Yep, that'll be tomorrow. So be on the lookout for that. Our conversation with Maurice Jones-Drew. Until then, we appreciate you. Have a wonderful day, and we'll see you next time right here on Move the Sticks.